And welcome to North Central Journal. And our special guest this month is the President and CEO of the North Central Mass Chamber of Commerce, Roy Nascimento. Roy, great to see you.
Great to see you too. I know, it's been a long time.
You know, we chose North Central Journal based on North Central Massachusetts and the Chamber of Commerce. That's how we chose the title of the show.
Kidding. Yeah. That's great.
We kicked around a few ideas and that's what we came up with.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you. That's first of all, thank you for having me on, and this is quite an honor and privilege to be on and talk a little bit about the Chamber and the work we do and the impact that we have here in North Central Massachusetts. So I appreciate it, and it's an added plus knowing that that we have some connection to the founding of this show. So that's great.
Now, one of the things we did want to talk about right off the top, of course, is most of our conversations this year start with the pandemic and what 2020 has been. And give us just a little treetop view of how the year was for the Chamber of Commerce.
So COVID-19 has been a just unprecedented situation for residents here in North Central Massachusetts and for businesses, particularly small businesses here in our communities. And since day one, the Chamber has been focused on providing support and resources and guidance and advocacy to help our businesses and to help our communities get through this very challenging time. And I'm really proud of our organization and our board members and our volunteers for the efforts that they've put in. I think we have made a real difference in helping businesses get through this challenging time.
One of the things I researched was the survey that was done, the Business Impact Survey that was done last November, I think it was. Mm-hmm. And I know you've got another one about to roll out, but what is the point of these surveys?
So that survey was actually our second survey. We did a survey at the beginning of March, last March, when the impact of when COVID first happened, just to initially get a sense of what businesses needed the most to help them get through the crisis. And we decided back in the fall to do another survey, and we wanted to do a deeper dive and get some additional data on the continuing impacts from COVID-19. And it was a really great survey. We partnered with the Montechusett Planning Organization, as well as the Workforce Investment Board and New View Communities and some other communities here in North Central Massachusetts. We had a pretty good response. We had about 250 businesses of all sizes from all industries here in North Central Massachusetts. And the responses really just validated what we already know, that the impact has been pretty significant for businesses, some more than others. There's definitely been winners and losers from the pandemic and the economic impact, and I don't mean that as any disrespect to those businesses, but some businesses have done well and have seen an increase in their business, but others, particularly customer-facing businesses, restaurants, retailers, hotels, attractions, dry cleaners, those types of businesses have had a tougher time with the pandemic versus other industries. And, if you're a manufacturer, a plastics manufacturer that's developing medical devices right now, your business is probably booming.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're a cleaner that specializes in deep cleaning offices, your business is probably doing very well right now. If you're a home improvement contractor, we've seen a big increase in folks investing in their homes. Your business is probably doing well. But if you're a restaurant, if you're a retailer, if you're a hotel, your business has been really devastated this last year. And that's what we saw from the survey responses. No surprise, a lot of businesses have seen a decrease in their sales and their business. I think what was most surprising to me was that 1 in 4 businesses, about 25% of the respondents, indicated that they only had enough cash or reserves to last another less than 6 months. So that was pretty concerning to me. But there was also a lot of great feedback that we received in terms of what businesses need the most to get through this pandemic, including additional programs like PPP, loans, technical assistance. Marketing was the #1 response when we asked businesses what they needed most beyond kind of grants. And a lot of them clearly, I interpreted that as they want customers in the door. So they need help with social media, with marketing, getting those customers back in the door so that they can get back to some level of normalcy. So it was a great survey for us. We're doing another one now, a little bit different. This is our annual economic impact survey. We really use this to kind of evaluate the economy and how people's perceptions of the economy. And we survey both residents and businesses. So those results will be presented at our annual Economic Outlook program, which is traditionally at breakfast, but this year it'll be online at the end of March 26th. Great program, a lot of great data for businesses. And then we will be asking about COVID-19 as part of that survey as well. And then later, probably in the spring, late spring, maybe June, we'll be doing another COVID-19 impact survey to just narrowly focus on COVID-19 and see what those continuing impacts are.
The Chamber also has created the COVID-19 Loan Fund. Tell us about that and what the application process would be for that.
So yes, so we've been involved in providing small business loans and technical assistance since the 1990s. We have an economic development arm called the North Central Massachusetts Development Corporation, and it is certified as an SBA micro loan provider and is certified as a community advantage lender, and it's what's called a community development financial institution. It's a certification from the U.S. Treasury. All that means is basically we're a nonprofit lender. We provide loans to startup businesses and existing businesses that for whatever reason can't get traditional loans from a bank. And typically it's because they may lack credit. It may be because they're a startup business and a bank considers them too risky. Or it could be in situations like we've seen with the pandemic. The bank doesn't want to we see credit kind of tightening up and banks taking less risk. So we're an alternative lender. We're not, we prefer people come to us where we have reasonable rates versus going to a predatory lender or an online lender where they'll pay double-digit interest rates. But we've been doing this since the 1990s, and our typical loan, our average loan is about $25,000. Typically it's a startup business, but with COVID-19 struck, we found that a lot of businesses were struggling. They needed cash. And so we shifted and started providing emergency loans. We launched what we call an emergency loan program to provide a bridge loan to help a small business while, at the time, when we first launched this, we didn't have the Paycheck Protection Program. We didn't have all these grants from the federal government or from the state. So we knew those things were coming down the pipeline. But we really wanted to provide a bridge loan to allow these businesses to give them the cash they needed until they could apply for those other programs, until those were out there. And it was, we went through our initial infusion of cash like right away, and we had some banks that stepped forward and some credit unions that stepped forward and contributed some money to help fund the emergency loan program. And I have to acknowledge and thank those financial institutions. DCU, Federal Credit Union, contributed $100,000. Berkshire Bank contributed $100,000, and they were actually the first one that approached us with the idea of this emergency loan fund. And Fidelity Bank also contributed $100,000, so we're very grateful for that. Workers Credit Union contributed $10,000. Bank Hometown contributed $5,000. And Bank of America recently contributed about $10,000 towards the fund as well. And that made a big difference and provided some of that working capital that we were able to use to provide these loans. So we're very grateful for them. So anyone who's interested in one of the loans can reach out to our lending team. They can go to our website, northcentralmass.com, and they can contact either Brendan Hannon, our micro loan manager, or Sandy Cataldo, our economic development manager, and they can get the process started.
Let's talk about the public policy agenda for this year, for 2021. 6 priority areas, beginning with the coronavirus and economic reopening. Now, what does that entail?
So the bottom line is our top priority this year is recovery. Recovery. COVID-19 has, as we talked about, all the data suggests, has had a significant impact on our economy here locally. It has definitely taken its toll on residents. It's taken its toll on small businesses. And we have been focused since day one on helping businesses get through this crisis. And that also goes back to our advocacy agenda. And we're really focused on that recovery piece. So we've been working with our delegation. We just had a meeting with the entire North Central Mass delegation. We're in regular contact with our local leaders, our mayors, our city councils, our economic development directors in the local communities. And I think we all have that as the goal, is just making sure that we can emerge from this terrible crisis better from it, and helping our businesses recover from it as quickly as possible.
Now, number 2 on the public policy agenda for this year is economic competitiveness. Give us some information about that.
Sure. So we are a region that's, I think we're well positioned to compete, but we hear from businesses all the time about costs of doing business here in the state. Our energy costs are very high, our employment costs are very high, so that's always a concern as well. So we want to be able to voice those concerns to our leaders in Boston or in Beacon Hill about some of the costs of doing business here. Energy, we have a very large concentration of manufacturers here in North Central Massachusetts, so energy costs are typically at the top of the list there because they are very energy intensive in the type of business that they work. I had a manufacturer once tell me that for every penny that the electricity goes up per kilowatt, costs them $1 million a year. So it's pretty significant. We have like among the highest energy costs in the country. I think we're second or third in the list of states.
Not a category you want to be number one or two in.
Right. So as you can see, it puts us at a little bit of a competitive disadvantage, and so we're in favor of anything that could help reduce those costs, as well as help protect our environment and deliver good energy sources to our residents and businesses.
And third on the agenda is small business.
Mm-hmm. So we're a region that it has a lot of small businesses, right? So we don't have a lot of corporate headquarters. We're not Boston. We don't have the big skyscrapers and big corporate headquarters and big companies. A lot of our businesses, we have some of those big companies, but a lot of our businesses that comprise the economy here in North Central Massachusetts are really small and mid-sized businesses. So this is an evergreen issue that we have. This is always on our list of priorities for North Central Massachusetts. It's really supporting those small businesses, making sure that they have the resources, making sure that government is supporting them and not working against them, so that we here in North Central Massachusetts can really prosper. And I think that's one of the things that makes North Central Massachusetts so special, is that you can still open a business in North Central Massachusetts, you can still have a small business in North Central Massachusetts, and you can still compete and prosper because of our competitive advantages here.
So from the public policy agenda, we turn to the Work North Central Jobs Board. Tell us what the role of the Work North Central Jobs Board is playing in economic recovery.
Thank you for bringing that up. That's been a priority of ours over the last year. We launched worknorthcentral.com about a year ago, and it was an online jobs board. We were hearing from a lot of employers that their number one challenge was finding qualified, skilled workers. And so we wanted to provide a resource for them, and we established this online jobs board where local employers could post their jobs. And there's lots of places where employers can post their jobs, so including a lot of bigger jobs boards, right, that are national. So we didn't want to compete with them. We really wanted to create a geographically based jobs board and use it as an economic development tool. We wanted to not only be a resource for employers, connecting them to job seekers, but we also wanted to use it as a tool to promote North Central Massachusetts and to show the great jobs that we have here in the region, that you don't have to go outside of the region, you don't have to commute outside of the region or move outside of the region to find a good job, that we have jobs right here, good paying jobs that could support you. So we launched the jobs board about a year ago before the pandemic, and I was thrilled when we got about 200 jobs. Now we're over 1,000 jobs that are posted on there, and jobs from virtually every type of industry, healthcare, manufacturing, retail, restaurants, you name it. Those jobs are on there, and there's new jobs being posted on a daily basis, and our team has done a really good job of keeping up with the jobs board and updating it. It's completely free for member businesses of the Chamber to post their jobs, and that jobs board also connects with the Google Jobs Network, so some of those jobs can also be found when someone does a search on Google. So it's a really great resource. Has really taken off. I encourage any job seekers locally, any of your viewers that are listening, if they're looking for work, to check it out. Again, it's worknorthcentral.com. Tell their friends about it. Great resource. You can has all kinds of tools. You can set it up so that you can get email reminders. You can do searches for a particular type of job or geography within the region. All jobs locally here in North Central Massachusetts. And any employers listening, I encourage them to help support the cause by going online and posting their own jobs on the jobs board. It's only helpful and only a good resource if employers are taking advantage of it and job seekers are taking advantage of it.
Now, the Chamber is working on a new economic development plan. We want you to tell us a little bit about that and how it's being funded.
That's great. So I'm glad you brought that up. So this is a major undertaking. About a year ago, we did an RFP, a request for proposals, to different firms that specialize in helping, consulting firms that help specialize in putting together economic development plans. And we selected a firm called RKG Associates. They're a national firm. They have offices here locally in Boston to help us put together this economic development plan, regional economic development plan. And the last time we went through this process was about 25 years ago. So it's been a long time, and we really are due to develop a new economic development plan. And what we're talking about here is really a regional plan. You might think, and some of your viewers might think, well, what use is a plan going to be? Well, planning can be very helpful, in developing, thinking about the future, being strategic, developing a roadmap or a blueprint to economic prosperity in the region, and kind of getting consensus, and looking at data as well. Can help you kind of develop that roadmap that can have really an impact over the next 10 years. So our goal is to do this every 10 years, kind of go through this comprehensive process and develop a big regional economic development plan. So we're finalizing that now, and we're very excited. It was a big project. There's a lot involved, a lot of data analysis, a lot of real estate analysis, a lot of benchmarking us against other regions throughout the country so we could compare ourselves and learn. Looking at different incentives that the state offers that would be of interest to businesses, and including that in there. Doing a lot of listening. So we held a lot of interviews with different stakeholders. We did surveys of different businesses and residents. So we're getting input from folks, and the idea is to develop this consensus around what are the priorities for an economic development here in North Central Massachusetts regionally. We're not looking at it by community, but really regionally. We're big proponents of regionalism. We think we're stronger when we come together. So this plan will be released shortly. We are finalizing it now, and there are some recommendations. The last time we went through this process, it was really impactful for North Central Massachusetts. Out of that came our lending program that I mentioned earlier. That was one of the recommendations, is develop a lending program and a technical assistance program that can help support the ecosystem, the entrepreneurial ecosystem here in North Central Massachusetts. That's taken off and has had a huge impact, creating thousands of jobs and helping start businesses and helping existing businesses expand over the years. Out of that came our regional tourism program. They thought 25 years ago, hey, that's one way we can diversify our economy here is we have a beautiful area, we have a lot of amenities, not a lot of natural resources. We can promote ourselves regionally as a destination and get visitors to come out with a little jingle in their pocket. They spend money in our local communities. That has an economic impact. That's taken off. We've grown from virtually zero in visitor spending to over $150 million annually in direct visitor spending prior to the pandemic. And that's had a spin-off effect and has had indirect economic impacts as well in North Central Massachusetts. Out of that came transportation infrastructure projects that were identified as priorities. Out of that came so much more that really is continuing to have an impact. So again, we want that same kind of impact. We want to be visionary. We want to think to the future. What can we do? What do we want to look like as a region in 20 years, 30 years? And how do we get there? And so that's what we're thinking about with this plan. We did get a state grant to help us fund this, and we matched that with our own private dollars to hire RKG and to do this work involving the business community and others as well.
Well, you certainly have your work cut out for you. I know, Roy, you've been in this position now for, I think you came on board around 2015.
It's been 6 years.
Time flies,
yes,
yeah.
It does, yeah.
It's always a pleasure talking with you, and certainly working with the Chamber as closely as we do. We appreciate everything you do and do for us.
Thank you. FATV is just a great, it's a Chamber member and a great, great partner and very supportive of all the work that we do. And so we very much appreciate that, and thank you for everything.
And we're back on North Central Journal, and joining us for this segment is Travis Condon. Many of you may recognize his name, but you certainly won't recognize his face. He's the new public affairs manager for the Chamber of Commerce. Travis, congratulations on the new gig.
Thank you. I get a lot more sleep now.
Give us a little bit of your background, the communications part of it, and what drew you into this part of your career.
Sure. I actually grew up always wanting to be in local radio. Grew up listening to Ray C on WEIM and listening to you over the years. And it was something I always wanted to do. Got the opportunity to do at WPKZ after I graduated at Bridgewater State University. Was in radio for a number of years, moved down to Virginia, did country radio, came back here, and I just most recently spent the last 6 years at WPKZ hosting the morning show. My background, though, is actually in communications, a little bit broader than just radio. I studied communications at Bridgewater State, took classes in political communication, communication theory, business communication, minored in public relations, and it's kind of funny because when I actually applied for this job, well, when I got this job, a lot of people were like, "But you talk and you push buttons," and I'm like, well, radio was a lot more than that, and I don't think a lot of folks, and I know you spent years in radio, realize the amount of prep that goes into radio. And the job that I was doing actually ties very closely to what I'm doing now. What I do now over as public affairs manager, I'm spending time talking to legislators, talking to city council members, talking to city officials about things that are happening that affect the small business community. And these are all issues that I was having to focus on in the radio station. I was reading articles, following up with legislators, reading budgets, reading all these different resources of information, and tracking all these different political issues already.
Now, you started a podcast series too. Tell us a little bit about that. It kind of falls in line with everything you've been doing, right?
Yes, well, I figured I was already used to doing interviews, so I might as well keep the theme up over at the Chamber. And we actually just launched this series. There's, I think, 3 episodes up right now. Should be more going up in the coming days. By the time this airs, there might be more already. And it's called Inside North Central Massachusetts. And what we're doing is we're taking some of our live chats and other programming that we've put online since the pandemic started, and we wanted to find another way to get that information out to people. Some people don't have time to sit there for 45 minutes or an hour and watch a video on their computer, but if we can take that audio from that video and all of a sudden put it on a way that you can either download it to your tablet, download it to your phone, or just stream it through one of your devices at home. You can make breakfast and listen to it. You can read the paper and listen to it. You can take care of your kids and do it. So we've made it a lot easier to keep in touch with all this information that we're trying to put out.
And you've just talked recently to the mayors of the Tri-Cities.
Yes, we're doing that on a monthly basis. We're also chatting from time to time with Jessica Strunken over at Mass Development in Devens. And what we're really doing is covering all the issues that affect the small business community and the broader community. A lot of our discussions happen to do with, what are the latest COVID-19 numbers, how is the vaccine rollout going right now, and obviously most of that's being done down at the DCU area, but we've talked to the mayors of the Tri-Cities, and all of them say that they've got the capacity up here, but it's a matter of getting the vaccines up this way from the state, and their hands are kind of tied right now. And one of the things that I think has been most interesting is just hearing that despite all the concerns and the ever-changing regulations, as you see from Governor Baker's office with coronavirus restrictions, is that there's a lot of folks who either were trying to start a job before the pandemic or lost their job and needed to find something else that are actually launching into small businesses right now. And we spent a lot of time talking to the different mayors about new businesses that have come online during the pandemic, or new businesses that they know are opening up in the coming months. And that for me is kind of a little bit of a glimmer of hope, and I enjoy talking to the mayors about that, because it does, I guess, give me a sense of optimism that there is hope on the other side of the pandemic.
Now, the Community Leadership Institute, tell us a little bit about that and where folks can go for more information.
Sure. This was started a number of years ago. Community business leaders got together with members of the chamber, members of the board, and they wanted to find a way to really kind of hone leadership skills among some of the emerging business people, emerging small business members. And they came together with the Community Leadership Institute. And so people get together, you take these kind of classes, and you really learn how to sharpen your leadership skills. You also build your networking base. You get to meet people who are in Fitchburg, who are in Leominster, who have been in the business community. You get to pick their brains and find out, hey, when you were coming up, what worked for you, or what's changed since you've been in the business. So you really kind of get this wealth of information from seasoned professionals. And you can find out more information about our next round of classes on northcentralmass.com.
Well, congratulations on the new position, the new career move, and
Thank you.
Always great to see you.
Good to see you as well.